This episode is sponsored by Desco Service, a woman-owned biomedical repair company led by CEO Andrea Bordenka, supporting women across industries. You can learn more about Desco at descomed.com. Welcome to In the Room, a series spotlighting the voices of the Women in Leadership, or WIL Society. In male-dominated industries like HTM and beyond, women are often expected to adapt, to fit the culture, adjust their communication, or navigate systems that weren't designed with them in mind. This podcast explores what happens when that dynamic shifts, when women stop shrinking to fit the room and begin reshaping it together. Each episode features candid conversations with leaders who are advancing their careers, building influence, and redefining power from the inside out. This is where perspective turns into power, because when women lead collectively, the room never stays the same. Welcome to the first episode of In the Room. April, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
This is the premiere episode of In the Room, a podcast for women navigating leadership in male-dominated industries. Too often, leadership comes with unspoken expectations to fit the room, adjust your voice, or become something you're not. So this series talks about what happens when that begins to shift. We'll be featuring members of Women in Leadership, or WIL Society, and we'll be talking about authenticity, power, and leading without losing yourself in the process. You don't have to change who you are to belong in the room, and together we have the power to reshape it. This episode is sponsored by Desco Medical, a woman-owned biomedical repair company led by CEO Andrea Bordenka. She supports women across all industries, and you can learn more about Desco at descomed.com. We are here today with April Lebo, SVP of Culture at Probo Medical and founder of Women in Leadership Society. She is passionate about uplifting, empowering, and motivating those around her to achieve their best. So first, I want to ask you about your experience. What was it like for you in leadership spaces before WIL existed?
I think for me, one of the biggest challenges that I faced was not feeling like I was really being seen. I felt like I was working so hard to establish my place, to prove myself, to really show the people that I've worked with that I was willing and able and deserving of a shot to grow within the company, but just felt like I was constantly being overlooked. We had a lot of men in leadership positions. At the time, there were no women. And so there weren't a lot of examples or people that I could reach out to kind of talk through, what did you do? How did you get here? What can I do to follow in your footsteps? So it was trying to navigate that. And again, just make it so that I was seen and just really felt like I wasn't heard. I wasn't seen, was appreciated for the work I was doing, but just didn't have that ability to grow and insert myself into higher level positions.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of women in male-dominated industries can kind of sense that something's off, but it can be like hard to name what that is. Was there a specific moment for you where you were like, something isn't quite right here?
I don't know if it was one particular instance that sparked it or just a compilation of a lot of things building, and almost like for anybody that gets on a treadmill where you're running and running and running, but you're not getting anywhere. I felt stuck and that I was working my butt off to not get me to that next step. And I think having the opportunity a few years ago to sit down with a couple of other women and talk about how I was feeling and what I was experiencing And hearing the exact same stories repeated made us realize that there really is something to it, and I wasn't alone. And that's what kind of sparked creating Will and finding an avenue to pull these women together so that we did have an outlet to be able to talk through this, get advice, vent if needed, and really start talking about how we could make a shift and create this movement to try and help grow specifically within our industry. Because more than anything, we really noticed that there weren't a lot of women and we wanted that to change. But in order for that to change, it had to be a place that young ladies knew they could come and have opportunity. No one wants to come into a job or an industry if you don't feel like there's growth opportunities or you're never going to get anywhere, being stuck on that treadmill, running your heart out and never getting any further. So, wanted to make sure that we were doing everything that we could to establish HTM and other male dominated industries as a place that women would want to aspire to come into because they knew that there were areas and ways that they could come in and grow and succeed.
Okay, so you're kind of like noticing all of these things. You're like, were you kind of feeling like a little bit of alone until, you start
I
having more
was.
conversations and
Absolutely. And alone because they're just at the time, if we rewind even just a few years ago, there really weren't a lot of women in our industry, especially engineers. You would go to these conferences and you just wouldn't see a lot of women that were coming out as biomeds walking the floor. And again, going to the conferences, I remember one instance a few years ago, I went to one by myself. And most of the times I've got my colleagues with me, but this particular show I went to by myself. And remember walking into the reception dinner the first night into this room of hundreds of men. And I am one of a handful of women. And being by myself and needing to go up and insert myself into conversation and, trying to sit down at a table and join in, it was extremely intimidating. And I was very self conscious and nervous. And I hated that feeling. And I hated that feeling for other women. So I definitely felt alone because there weren't a lot of women, but then not having a community or a support system to be able to talk to say, what do you do and how do you navigate it? Or what would you do in this circumstance? What advice would you give me? That's really, again, where I felt creating the Women in Leadership Society was going to be so beneficial just because of what I know I went through. And that one meeting of sitting in a room with six other ladies, I left feeling like a totally different person. And I felt so inspired and so motivated and like, finally, like this is what's been missing. And if I can feel this way with just a few, what would it be like if we pulled in more? And it just kind of grew from that.
I love that. I think there's like a lot of conversation about like supporting women, right now in the workplace. So was that kind of like, you mentioned like that sense of community, and
Mhm.
do you think that's like what's missing? Like we need more community?
I think we do not only within individual workspaces, but in industries as well. And I think for me, that has been one of the most special and inspiring things that we've seen from Will is this didn't just need to be a Probo thing. This didn't just need to be a Desco thing, even though we need that. We need mentor programs within the workplace. We need to have people, especially women in leadership roles, so that other women within the company can see that, can know that they can achieve that. They've got those role models because if you can't see it, you can't be it. If you work for a company where you never see a female in a leadership role, what woman would ever believe that she's got the opportunity to do that? So I think that's very important. But what has been so unbelievable with Will is that this did become kind of a movement for our industry and being able to talk to and meet and reach women throughout. So, not just within my own network of my company, but throughout the entire industry and hearing their stories and the challenges that they've faced and then hearing what they've done to overcome them has been so inspiring. And that has a trickle effect to everybody that hears it and all of our members. And it gives them the encouragement and the confidence to find their own voice and to know that if Brandy did it, if Nicole did it, if Rana did it, that they can do it too. And I think that's one of the most important pieces of the community aspect is just having that visibility and that open door to the other members to be able to reach out, to be able to hear those stories, to be able to get that advice and just be motivated and inspired by each other.
What are some of the challenges that, these women are talking about that you've faced or like others have faced in a male-dominated industry?
I think, again, we talked about it at the beginning, being seen, being taken seriously. A lot of times, especially in our field, and unfortunately, I can't talk to this directly because I am not an engineer, but hearing a lot of these stories, these very successful and capable and amazing women that are out there every day fixing this equipment and down in the trenches and doing that their male counterparts are doing, being taken seriously, and that they have the ability and the capacity and the capability to be able to do that job. And again, being heard. If you have an issue, if you see something that's not right, if you have a reason to disagree, feeling like you can speak up and it not being held against you or that somebody is going to take you seriously. I think that's been an issue for a lot of women in our industry is just number one, having the self-confidence to be able to speak up, to self-advocate, to talk through some of these things, but then know that the people that you're talking to are going to take you seriously and are going to believe you and are going to do something about it. So those are some of the challenges that we hear. And then again, just talking about leadership in general in a male dominated industry, when you are up against multiple men vying for the same position, how do you set yourself apart and how do women end up having the ability to try and grow into some of those roles, which traditionally have felt like they belong to a man. So those are some of the roadblocks that we're dealing with.
That sounds incredibly frustrating. Mm.
But things are changing. And I can say from that time, 5, 6, 7 years ago, when I went to that one conference, and I was, like I said, I felt like I was one of 5 women that walked in, and those 5 women, all of us were sales reps. Like we were the sales reps at the booth, but you didn't see, women anywhere else. You go to one of our industry conferences now, and it is a dramatic, dramatic difference. So I feel like the tides are turning. You see so many more women attending these industry events, and it is literally awe-inspiring. So I think getting the word out, I think times are just starting to change, and you can definitely feel it in the energy when you go.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, how has the energy like shifted? You can see like a visual difference, of there being more women now
Yep.
versus then. But energetically, how has it shifted?
I think one of the things that was very, very important to me and those of us that started Will was the conferences to make sure we have a program called No One Sits Alone. That when you went to a show, you knew who to look for. We put posts out with faces, with pictures, so that any woman attending the conference knows who they can go to, and that person is going to be happy to walk the floor with them. They're going to sit with them at lunch, at dinner, at an educational event. We have meetups so people know where to go. We do networking events so people have the opportunity in a very safe environment to be able to meet other members. We want to make sure that these women that are going don't ever feel that sense of being uncomfortable out on an island, needing to do this alone, because we've all been there and we know how intimidating that can be. So we have the will pins. We make sure we're doing different little fun things that keep everybody included. And that in turn gets that energy up. Because whereas before it was, again, intimidating and nerve wracking to go, thinking I've got to navigate this myself, but knowing that you've got a support system there that's got your back no matter what, instead of walking that floor one at a time, now we're going as a pack. So definitely shifts that energy, makes it a lot more fun, and you can just sense it with everybody that you talk to.
That's so beautiful. I can like imagine you guys walking in like a unit.
And that's the thing too, like to be able to go to these shows now and see women that are in like their will merge. And it's not just the women, it is the men. We have seen such an amazing shift in the men and how they support Will and the women. And I can't tell you, there's just been countless stories of men that have come up and said, what can we do to support? You know, how can we show that we are standing behind you, lifting you up, and making sure that they are navigating the females that are either coming into their departments, their companies, or that they're meeting at these conferences, sending them our information, telling them they need to be involved with Will and hooking them up with somebody from the society so that, again, instantly out of the gate, they don't feel like they're alone. So as much as I would love to say all of the women and the amazing women and the work that they've done, we've had so much support from the men in the industry as well. And without them, I don't think we would be here because they've really helped to, again, lift us up and spread the word.
That's amazing. For some reason, I would not expect that, honestly. And that's like incredible to hear. What are some of the things that men can do to help women in leadership kind of spread their message?
First and foremost, I would say if you know any women in the industry or even outside of the industry, direct them to me, to somebody on the board, to one of our ambassadors, and have them join the LinkedIn group. Have them be a part of Will. They will get all of our announcements, all of our posts, see what industry conferences we're going to. We do webinars so they can be included in the different trainings we do, as well as our networking events. So first and foremost, just helping to direct the women to the Will group, first and foremost. And then just, again, whatever you can do to stand behind and champion and motivate the women that you work with. I can't stress that enough. And I have been fortunate in my career to have some amazing men who've been willing to champion for me and bring up my name in a room that I wasn't in. And I found that was definitely something that has been so unbelievably helpful in my career, is knowing that you've got a champion standing behind you, man or woman, that's going to support you no matter what. So a lot of times, especially in our industry, you might have one female in that biomed department. You know, the men need to rally around her and make sure, number one, she feels supported and comfortable, and champion her when she's not standing in that room. And I think that those are two really important things that the men in our industry can do to help the women.
At Desco Service, we believe in leading with people first. Our vision is to be the global model for customer service while continuing to elevate women in HTM and other male-dominated industries. We are committed to creating inclusive workplace environments where employees feel supported, valued, and empowered to grow.
Yeah, that a shout out goes a long way.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
I did want to ask about Will today. What is Will's focus right now? What feels important for Will in the next chapter?
Okay. So we have grown pretty dramatically over the last couple of years, and there has been so much, I want to say, fanfare around Will, which obviously got us excited and the wheels turning, trying to think of what's next, what more do we need to do. And I feel like we got a little too focused on what we could do as opposed to trying to just stay true to what our mission was. So I think in 2026, I would say Will is just going back to basics and really trying to focus on being that support system. How can we recruit? How can we bring in more members? How can we be a value and a resource in terms of making sure the women in our industry know who to go to, who they can, mentor with, who they can seek advice from, and just really focus on that as well as our networking events. I think trying to figure out the best avenues to go for sponsorship and making sure at the different industry events, whether that's a local biomed society meeting or one of our national conferences, that we have an opportunity to have a will specific women only event so that we can have those opportunities for the women to come in, get to network, feel comfortable, a safe space, and meet other women in the industry. And so that's kind of our focus this year, is really how we can bring all of that together and find ways to get the members in front of each other at these conferences. Like I said, I know we've thrown out a lot of different things that we would love to do, but all of us have full-time jobs. Everybody is very, very busy. And so trying to devote as much time and effort as we can to making Will the best resource and value it can be to our members. We can't have 60 different offerings and 60 different things because it's just not feasible right now, and devoting the time to do it is tough. So we want to make sure that we are this year focusing on bringing as much value as we can to the members with our webinars, with our networking events, and whatever we can do to just grow the community so that we've got more members for people to reach out to.
Yeah. I think also like just even the podcast is like such a good way to do that. And, Will trying to like get back to basics and stick to like being authentic. That's kind of what this is all about. So I think that's like really beautiful. It was like a while ago, I went to an event one time and it was so inspiring. I loved everyone telling their stories. Like it was really cool. And you could see, a lot of people here know each other. Like they've been here before, and and it's such a welcoming environment. Like it's very much like you can go up and talk to anybody. Like
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so important. Number one is making sure everybody feels welcome, everybody feels comfortable, and never feels afraid to raise their hand. And so we have to create that environment. We have to create that community, because not everybody has that at their workplace. Not everybody has that when they go to an educational event or a conference. And so making sure that we have that moment in time, because as soon as you go and can meet other people and start feeling that level of comfort, then all of a sudden you become that for somebody else. And so it just, again, is contagious, and we can have that flow throughout the industry. And by creating that, we then make HTM a place that the young girls that are still trying to navigate high school and college and decide what they want to do, the more we can create that, the more we're going to be able to recruit and bring more women into the industry. So it starts with us and doing podcasts, and the more we can talk about how incredible this industry is and how motivating and successful a woman can be, getting that word out is eventually going to get to those younger women. And next thing we know, it's going to be a complete role reversal where HTM is going to be very heavily female dominated because so many women are going to want to join this industry. So, if I could say one goal and one thing that I would wish to come out of Will is just us being able to create that dynamic and that environment that everybody wants to be a part of, especially the young girls out there that are still trying to decide what they want to do.
Yeah, it's actually it's interesting. We did a event for high schoolers this past Thursday, and it was kind of like a career fair. And we were talking to everyone, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't know that this existed. Like, I didn't even know what biomedical repair
Yep.
was. I thought, something breaks, you get a new one." And we're like, "No, no. Do you like working with your hands? Like,
Yep.
and yeah." So it was really interesting to like talk to the kids and everything, and have them all come up and be like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, especially now with as popular as STEM has become in the school system, there are so many different tracks that the kids can go. And until we can, and I know there are a lot of people, Brian Hawkins, especially in our industry, that are really trying to create this movement of reaching the younger generation to introduce HTM. And it's incredible what he's doing, and would really love to see that, be very beneficial for the young girls that are out there, and seeing that they can too come into this industry and not just come in, but come in and succeed and grow and work into leadership positions. And there's so many different avenues they can go. Like I said, I don't carry a bag. I don't fix the equipment, but I've been able to make HTM a very successful journey for myself in a different avenue, working with all of them. So it doesn't have to necessarily always be fixing the equipment, even though hats off to all of those men and women that are doing it. But there are so many different facets that come to this industry that sky's the limit to where you can go.
Yeah. Could you like talk more about that? Like the different avenues people could take? Because like, I mean, yes, we have field techs, we have dispatch, but there's so many other things that someone could do.
Absolutely. So you've got obviously the biomeds and the departments that are right there in the hospitals, and the engineers that are day in and day out working on different pieces of equipment from imaging to biomed. But then you've got companies like Probo Medical who sell the equipment. We also have engineers if a hospital doesn't, but you've got companies that can sell the parts, that can provide the tech support, that can provide the training, who can sell the equipment. And then you've got asset management companies who can go in and not necessarily work directly in the hospital, but supply those services. So there's lots of different avenues. If somebody wanted to go and be somebody that trained on the equipment, we've got application specialists that come in and can show somebody how to work on an ultrasound machine. We've got training to show somebody how to fix the ultrasound machine. We've got engineers that are fixing the ultrasound machine. And then you've got the sales reps who will sell that equipment, sell the parts, so on and so forth. We've got people at our company that tear the equipment down, that are harvesting those parts, people that are fixing the little intricate pieces inside an ultrasound probe or an MRI coil. So again, I feel like there are so many different avenues and tracks that people can do in this industry. It's not just single focused. And then being able to run that department, to be able to manage that sales team or manage that harvest team, or look at Andrea, run the company, seeing those inspiring females that are really living it and doing it. And for us to be able to look and say, oh my gosh, if Andrea can do it, I can do it too. So nothing that isn't possible in this industry.
Wow. I didn't even know all of the different routes that you can take. Like, That is so interesting.
And then marketing. I mean, and just so again, between sales and marketing, somebody doesn't have to know how to turn a wrench, pick up a screwdriver, and physically fix a CT system. But we've got marketing teams, we've got sales teams, we've got a lot that goes into this industry to be able to branch off and find your perfect career.
So, what did you go to school for, like sales? Is that how you kind of entered in?
I didn't. I went to school for psychology, of all things, but ended up in a roundabout way coming into sales. I was in pharmaceuticals for many, many years, and through pharmaceuticals, got very familiar in the healthcare industry and working in hospitals and with medical professionals. And then my next role moved into medical equipment. And that's when I got into this industry. I was new, didn't even realize that it was a thing, and got to meet the incredible healthcare technology management engineers and saw the amazing work that they were doing behind the scenes and absolutely fell in love and knew for me that this was my calling, being able to in some way help the hospitals, help the patients, provide that life-saving equipment, making sure that I could do my small part to help keep it up and running. It felt like, something very personal for me. So loved it. Never knew that, again, this industry existed until I kind of fell into it. But now I want everybody to know. So, no, I didn't need a specific degree in sales, but had that sales experience. And that's what kind of brought me over.
Yeah, I think when I talk to, different people at Desco, they're always like, yeah, I just fell into it. Like, I didn't go to school for this, that, or the other thing, but I just kind of like didn't really know what I wanted to do, was taking classes, and like they just kind of fell into it randomly. But you're giving me like so many things that I can talk about at our next job fair. you know.
That's awesome. And that's the thing. I don't think people, again, and you see this in a lot of industries, obviously HTM is very service focused. It's very engineering focused. And we need engineers, especially right now, because if you look nationally at the biomeds, and I don't know the exact statistics, but so many of them are on the cusp of retiring. And we don't have enough engineers that are going to be able to come in and fulfill those empty spots. So we need engineers desperately right now. But that's just, it's not the be all end all when it comes to this industry. Like, an engineer sitting in a hospital has to get a part from somewhere. You know, sometimes they need training, sometimes they need tech support, sometimes they need a whole new system. So that needs to come from somewhere. And that's where a lot of the companies like mine and like many others can help and, be a vital part of this industry by being able to be that support system behind the scenes for the engineers.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm learning so much. Okay, so I think my last question is if you had a piece of advice to offer a woman stepping into a leadership role, like what would you tell her?
I think my first piece of advice would be find your confidence and own it. You got into that role, you got where you were for a reason. You proved yourself, you've done the hard work. So now be self assured, self confident, and own what you've done. I think a lot of women have imposter syndrome. I know I can raise my hand and say that I am somebody that suffers from that quite a bit, constantly questioning, do I deserve to be here? Obviously I pulled the wool over somebody's eyes, but one of the things that I have tried very hard to work on is owning my self-worth and that I deserve a seat at that table. And I think that for me is probably the biggest piece of advice that I could give somebody moving into a leadership role is you deserve to be there. Own that seat and don't let anybody take it away from you. And then use your voice, even if it shakes. And when you're sitting in a room full of men and you're already intimidated, it's sometimes hard to interject. It's sometimes hard to say, no, this is what I think, or this is my recommendation. But even if your voice shakes, you need to use it. And eventually that is going to become easier and easier. But if you constantly shrink back, if you're constantly the one that's never speaking up and always sitting, off to the side, that's always how you're going to be seen. So you earned your spot at the table, and now it's time to, get up there and use your voice and be a part of that table. So
Yeah. You're in the room for a reason.
you're in the room for a reason. Yep, absolutely. Never doubt it.
No, I actually love what you were saying about like imposter syndrome. I have like always struggled with imposter syndrome. I think like, even like doing something like this is something that like I keep like making myself do because it's something I want to be good at. So but I get I think it's like the perfectionism that comes with the imposter syndrome that,
Yep.
It's hard to, not be in your head of like, oh, you need to know what to say. You need to like say this like this, or like in the aftermath, I think being like, oh, I could have said that better. I should have done that better.
Trust me, I have yet to ever watch a recording of myself. I've done a few podcasts. I've never watched them. I will probably not watch this one because I will be like, oh my gosh, like, why did you say that? Or you should have said this, or what is going on with your hair? Like, I can't even look at myself. So I get it. I get it. And so that's one of the things. And you just don't ever hear about imposter syndrome with men. Not saying men don't have it, and I'm sure plenty of them do, but you just don't hear about it much. Whereas women, I feel like all of us struggle with it at some point. And it's just like, how do you get past it? How do you stop it in its tracks and realize it's happening and saying, you know what? No, my hair looks fine. Like, why are you worrying about your hair? Why are you worrying about what you said? Like, it's going to be great. Just don't. But I get it. And especially in those situations where you are the only woman sitting in a room that you're struggling to feel like you deserve to be sitting in, sometimes you've got to push through, and it's hard advice, but once you do it, it starts getting a little bit easier and easier. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I damn well deserve to be here. So
I love that. It's like exposure therapy.
yep. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And that's the thing. The more times that you do it, the more comfortable it gets. And again, the more times you have a woman who is able to interview that gets hired, the more opportunities you are to now having an executive team, a management team that is more diverse and more women, because they see it, they know it's possible, and they're going to start applying. So I think once we can start making that the norm, then these kind of conversations won't have to happen because it's just every day.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I hope like, we can see it and be like, oh my God, here it is. We did it.
Here it is. We did it. We got there. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
I don't think so. I feel like we hit on quite a bit of stuff. I mean, outside of, again, just thanking everybody. Will was an idea that I had, but it didn't become what it is because of me. Like, there are so many women and men that have contributed to Will and our growth and our success and everything that there are no words. I mean, it's incredible to see, and I'm so thankful and proud of every single person that has stepped in, has stepped up, that has mentioned Will, has talked about Will, these kind of podcasts getting the word out, it has exceeded every thought or dream I ever had of what it could become. So just so unbelievably thankful for all of the help and support. And again, both the members, the women in our industry, and then the men in our industry that have stood behind us and lifted us up. So I think that's it.
Beautifully said. Beautifully
Well,
said.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, I so appreciate talking to you. And yeah, we will have another episode coming up. I'm so excited.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I'm Andrea Bordenka, the CEO of Desco Service. I'm proud to sponsor this episode of Women in Leadership's podcast to elevate the voices of women in the room.
Thank you for being in the room. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow, share, and stay connected for more conversations that move leadership forward. You can learn more about the Women in Leadership Society at will-in-htm.com. Remember, wherever you are in your leadership journey, you belong here. And whoever didn't expect you to be here, they'll get used to it.